Hi, my name is Deborah Meal, and I'm going to talk to you about emotional regulation. And one of the things I want to speak to you about this evening is that one of the things that's very important in regards to emotional regulation is understanding that when you have emotional regulation, you're then able to create long-lasting relationships, and you're also be able to create your own inner peace. Lots of people talk about inner peace and how we seem to achieve it, but one of the best ways to achieve it is actually through emotional regulation. The very first thing that we need to do is to figure out, well, how do I obtain emotional regulation? The basis is, first of all, some type of mindfulness practice. Mindfulness practice is that you are aware of your own negative thinking or your own positive thinking, quite frankly. But you just start becoming aware of your own thinking, and you're aware of how you want a particular situation to turn out or not to turn out, and your attachment to that particular outcome. So when we have a particular thought about what it is that we want, then we also have a particular emotion that goes with that. So again, I'm going to reiterate, there are 4 ways to solve any particular problem that you can come across. The first one is that you can leave or get out of the situation for good. It doesn't matter what that particular situation is, but leaving and get out of it is one of the ways that you can solve the problem. There's a great book called Don't Shoot Your Dog. And I want you to know that one of the things that it says in the book is that you can shoot the dog for misbehaving and you will have immediately solved the behavioral issue right away. So most of us aren't going to do that, obviously. You can learn a particular skill and you can change the situation. Now, we can't really change other people, but we can change our response to those people, and in that regard, that person will respond differently to us. We can feel better about a particular problem. We can learn to regulate our emotion in regards to a particular problem. That's taught a lot in particular groups like Al-Anon, which is very, very successful. We can accept and tolerate both the problem and our response to the problem. That's the third way that we can learn to solve a particular problem. Or we can stay miserable. And if you choose to stay miserable, I'm probably not the counselor, the pastoral counselor for you, or the coach for you. And DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, probably won't work for you. DBT has an 87% success rate in helping people achieve emotional regulation. But I want you to know it's absolutely not for everybody. It's not for those people that are still stuck in kind of that victim mentality of that everybody is harming me, the world is harming me, God's harming me, that every problem that I have is, again, a problem where I feel like I've been victimized by my community or by my world or by my God or by whatever. So in that regard, staying stuck in that doesn't allow you to move forward to manifest new things, new positive things in your life. So there are 6 points to emotional regulation. And again, getting emotional regulation down is really important if you want to manifest certain goals. I want you to know I'm a student of the law of attraction and quantum physics. And one of the things that I think people don't understand is how important emotion is in being able to launch your desires to the universe, whether you believe in a God or the goddess or a universal life force or whatever you believe in. Launching your desires doesn't mean that you're just, mamby-pamby milk toast about them. Launching your desires means that you have an internal desire, that you have a particular emotion that's attached to what it is that you want. And so you use that emotion to be able to create a frequency, a vibration that actually matches that particular thing that you want. So let me give you a primary example. My husband, he needed a new car. And we don't buy new, we buy used. And we bought a lot of different cars throughout our marriage of 15 years. And one of the things he wanted was he wanted a new car, and he'd always wanted a Jag. And so I said to him, well, why don't you look on the internet and see if you can find one? So he did. He found one, and he printed a picture of it. And within about a week, we had a gold-colored Jag that went across, our screen on the computer in regards to somebody that had one for sale, and it was 35,000 miles, and it was about $12,000, but it was gold in color. And there were two problems. One is I'm not real fond of gold, and two, it was a little soon for us financially. And I said, okay, well, we know that they're out there, so can you wait for a week or two, and can you manifest something else? And he said, sure. Obviously, I've done it one time. I should be able to do it again. So he put a black one up that he thought that he liked, and I said, so here are the requirements. I said it needs to be no more than $13,000. It needs to have about 35,000 miles on it. We need to get bumper-to-bumper coverage on it, because we'll never be able to cover if the engine blows up. It'll cost us too much to replace it. So I said, that's what I think that's what we need to look for. And he said, oh, well, he goes, I can't even imagine if that's going to happen, but we can certainly give it a try. So, but he really, really wanted this particular car. And sure enough, just about 6 weeks later, it came available, and a man had a car. It had actually 37,000 miles on it. We paid $12,900 for it, and it was absolutely in mint condition, and we actually got bumper-to-bumper coverage on it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it is your emotion that helps you make it to the vibrational frequency that, again, gives you what it is that you want. And material things like cars are just kind of an example. It's relationships, it's the kind of job that you want, it's the kind of life that you want to live, it's the kind of home that you want to live in. All of those things matter to us individually. And I think that we can be respectful of one another's dreams and desires and actually help people be able to manifest those things, but we can't do that if we're mindless, and we can't do that if we don't have any type of emotional regulation. So here are 6 points for emotional regulation. The first one is that you need to treat physical illness. And physical illness isn't just the body. Physical illness is also your brain. Your brain is encased in that skull, and it has the skin suit all over it, but it's still physically part of your body. So if you aren't treating your brain properly, if you haven't gotten a correct diagnosis, if you have a diagnosis, if you haven't gotten the correct diagnosis, if you have not been able to get on the right meds, if you haven't been able to get something like a SPECT image that shows the hot spots and cold spots of your brain, for you able to get a correct diagnosis and for you to be able to get on the correct meds, it's one of the first things that I recommend, because you can't change your thinking, you can't change your emotion if your brain's on fire all the time. It's just kind of common sense for me to look at the organ that we're trying to treat here, which is your thoughts and your emotions equal your behavior. So your brain's really important to that. We need to develop a plan for laughing more. I tell people that come to me for coaching to, again, be careful about what they watch on TV. Don't get too involved in the news. Try to stay away from, again, stories and plots where people die at the end. Lassie dying at the end doesn't make anybody happy. It's the same with, gruesome murders and that type of thing. Be careful what you, again, see, because that goes directly into your brain. I also try to tell people to stay away from listening to music, that somebody done somebody wrong song. Probably not going to be in your genre of music for a while if you're trying to lift your spirits. There's not much uplifting about that. Listening to the, I like to say, the country western stuff where, again, the dog dies and the house burned down and the wife goes and lives somewhere else and she has an affair and all these terrible things happen. You probably don't need any more of that in your life. Most of the time we don't find that stuff very funny. And so, again, it's about listening and watching stuff that, again, uplifts us. So number 3 is about balanced eating. And this is absolutely one of my favorite things. If you think that, again, eating ding-dongs and ho-hos and sugared things in the morning, chugged by chocolate milk, is breakfast food, I guarantee you it's not. Those are not breakfast. Those are empty calories. They don't do anything for you except make your body toxic, make your joints inflamed, and quite frankly, make your brain inflamed. So if you're eating that stuff in the morning for breakfast, I'm going to encourage you that there's actually things out there that you can eat, like bacon and eggs and whole grain toast that doesn't have sugar in it. There's also some hot cereal. We all ate hot cereal about 100 years ago. Nobody thought anything of it until, again, we were able to get Cocoa Pebbles and some of those other Fruity Loops and some of that other stuff that's absolutely loaded in sugar, and then we wonder why 2 hours later we feel awful. We're unable to think, we have brain fog, we're unable to get up off the couch, we need another 6 cups of coffee. That's not the way that our bodies have been programmed to respond, and I realize it's inconvenient to not be able to eat that other stuff and just feel miraculous all day long. But again, you're going against the grain. You're actually swimming upstream if you're continuing to poison and eat those types of toxins that actually break down your body and destroy your ability to think clearly and to be able to get a hold of your emotions. And that launches us into my other little, getting on my soapbox about this, is that all those empty carbohydrates, again, don't do anything. They don't nourish your body. There's no nourishment to this particular temple. And I don't care if you're a Christian or you're a Buddhist or you're Hindu or whatever it is you believe. This particular skin suit, we're usually given just one of those. And so the idea is that if you protect it and you care for it, then you actually do many things to then promote your thinking and your behaving in a way that contributes to society. So it is really important to honor this temple, this particular body, in a way that benefits yourself, benefits your family, and quite frankly benefits the rest of the community. The other thing about eating that I want you to think about too is that lots of protein, our brain actually needs lots of protein to function correctly, and lots of vegetables. Try to stay in the organic realm. We now know that there's a lot of pesticides and a lot of toxins that our food's been sprayed with, so it's important for us to take a look at that. The fourth thing is to avoid mood-altering drugs. I don't care what it is. If it's mood-altering, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's wine. It doesn't matter if it is cocaine or meth or pot or tea or too much caffeine. Anything that alters your mood, you need to at least be aware of. So that you can make, again, rational choices. Again, our thoughts plus our emotions equal our behavior. And if your behavior is not incongruent to who you are, then you need to be looking at that, mindfully looking at your behavior so that you can make changes. Balanced sleep is really, really important. We've now found that getting enough sleep is usually somewhere in the 8-hour mark. Now I know that there's those of you that are going to write me and tell me that you can function just perfectly fine on 4 hours, and I'm not going to try to argue with you about that. I'll just direct you back to the science that says if you can't get enough REM sleep, your body is eventually going to break down. And you're not going to be as healthy, you're not going to feel as good, you're going to bite people's heads off, and you're not going to have the kind of life that you particularly want to have. So getting good sleep, getting consistent sleep, getting into a circadian rhythm, which actually means that you're in bed before 12 o'clock at night, and you're getting a full restful 8 hours, really, really important. One of the things that we do here is that we teach our clients to start at 1,000 and take a deep breath and say 1,000. And I am deeply relaxed. As you leave that breath out, say I'm deeply relaxed to yourself, and then say 999. And then you can say deeply relaxed and 998, and say deeply relaxed 997, and then say the words deeply relaxed to yourself. Quite frankly, I've only had very few people actually make it past 900. Doing that particular thing. It will put you back to sleep. And if you wake up, don't get up and read. If you need to go to the bathroom, you can do that, but start that sequence again. And what happens, quite frankly, is it puts all of your thinking back in your prefrontal cortex, so you're not in the limbic system of your brain where worry is. And it puts you back in the prefrontal cortex of your brain, and it actually just bores you to sleep. And at that point, that's again how it is that you are then very successful in making this happen. The last thing is exercise. And I want you to know that there are a variety of forms of exercise, and I'm not going to pick on you about which one to choose. If you're walking, if you're swimming, if you're doing Zumba, if you're doing aerobics, all of that sends extra blood to the brain. And I actually asked a doctor about this, and he said actually sex counts also. But it has to be 3 times a week. It has to last more than 20 minutes, and you have to work up a solid sweat for it. So those 6 tips will help you in emotional regulation, along with your thinking in changing your behavior. So I want you to know, have a peaceful evening, and I hope and I bless you to know that you can go forward and you can create anything that you can dream. You can actually create, and you can transform your own life. We've transformed our own lives, and we know that you can transform your own life also. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.